Hello and welcome to the Art of Listening podcast. Thank you for being here and welcome to my first solo episode. And as I'm quite new to this podcast journey, I felt it's a good moment to do a solo episode where I share a bit more about my personal journey, especially in regards to yoga, creativity, writing, and I will also share about my personal practices, overall what moves me, and how did I ended up doing this podcast. So nowadays I teach yoga. I love to hold space. I love to share. I love to write. I love to read. I love to have meaningful conversations. And that's really one reason why I'm doing this podcast. And I also still do modeling. And I feel modeling, it's a good entry point to share more about my personal journey. Because I started modeling when I was quite young. And that really allowed me to travel the world, being exposed to different cultures. And it brought many beautiful memories, but obviously also many challenges. So from quite a young age on, I had to take responsibility for myself while traveling the world. And obviously modeling or overall the fashion industry, it's quite a competitive industry. And now when I'm older, looking back, starting it with 14, 15, I can definitely say I was very young. And when you're younger, in some ways, you're also more naive, I could say. So you are much more easily influenced. But through modeling, as I just mentioned, it just really allowed me to travel the world. And one country that I traveled to and lived in for a while was Australia, which was a very beautiful experience. But in Australia, I also started my yoga journey. And when I was in Australia, the first entry point to yoga was actually just the physical reasons. My friend, she said, okay, there's this one yoga studio. Let's sign up for it and let's go every single day. And my first intention and entry point was pretty much the physical practice. I just knew, okay, you will have a good body through yoga and let's just go for it. But in that month, we went every single day. I could truly see a shift, not just physically, but mentally, spiritually, emotionally. And I really found through yoga a way to reconnect to my body. Because through modeling, not just only through modeling, but also before, I was quite disconnected from my body. I didn't really feel myself. I was struggling with my body image. But yoga really helped me to feel myself again. And for me, this practice was and still is very healing. And when I left Australia, I actually never stopped. So back in these days, there were no online Zoom classes. You could just do YouTube videos and maybe go to a local yoga studio. But even then, there were not so many yoga studios. It also depends, obviously, on which place you were. But at that point, I just kept practicing with YouTube videos. Maybe you know her as well, Bowie Beautiful. She's practicing and teaching in these beautiful tropical places. She has such a soothing voice, and until this day, I still love to practice with her YouTube videos. And one day, my friend texted me if I wanted to go to a retreat on Bali. And my friend truly texted me on a day where I wasn't feeling quite well. I just didn't really have the clarity where I wanted to go, where it's also going with modeling. And this message really felt, kind of like sent from heaven. And I knew, okay, I have to do that. So I went to Bali. I went to that retreat. And looking back, I really could see that this retreat was kind of an initiation for me. And in that retreat, a lot of things shifted and opened up for me. And when I flew to Bali, the yoga practice was Kundalini yoga. And at that point, I wasn't practicing Kundalini yoga. I've never heard of it as well. I was mainly practicing Vinyasa and Ashtanga yoga. And every morning we had a practice of Kundalini yoga at 6 a.m. with a teacher, my first teacher. He's from India, and until this day, I practice with him. And actually this year I saw him on a Kundalini Yoga festival, which was quite of a full circle moment because it's almost 8 years ago. And in this retreat, we did every morning a 2.5 hours practice of Kundalini Yoga, and everything was quite new to me. And maybe if you're also new to Kundalini Yoga, it's quite different from the usual yoga styles that you might know. You do a lot of breathing exercise, a lot of mantras, a lot of mudras, and it's also coming from a different lineage. So it's coming from the tantric lineage. That's why it's so different to Hatha, Ashtanga, Vinyasa. And it is such a powerful practice. Until this day, it's really just, even this morning, I went to Kundalini Yoga, and it's just one of my favorite practices that just keeps on enhancing my life in many ways. And in this retreat, for the first time, I felt there was a weight of me lifted. And I remember sitting in this car and just looking into the sky and just feeling so much joy and happiness for no reason. And I truly felt how I slowly came much more alive again, how I could slowly also let go of anything that I was carrying. And I really felt that a lot of things open up for me in that retreat. And at that point, I just didn't really knew what was happening to me. I just knew, okay, this feels good and this feels right. And I don't know what's happening, but I think I should keep doing that. And in that retreat in Bali was also the first time that I felt I wanted to be a yoga teacher, because the friends of my friends, they were yoga teachers. And when they said they were a yoga teacher, I was like, oh, I want to do this as well. And I obviously didn't know where should I do a training, with who should I do a training, but eventually all the dots connect, and that's the beauty of it. Looking back at your life, you see that each event was linked to the other. And yeah, when I left this retreat, I intentionally spent a lot of time alone. Did so many practices of meditation and yoga, and I really went very deep into the other direction. And I feel it's almost like a pendulum, right? Like once you go into the other direction, and then you go to the other direction, and eventually you kind of find your balance. But I just had this gut feeling that I need to go to Istanbul. And I somehow have this with places that I know, okay, I feel I need to go there. Something awaits me. I don't know what, but I should go there. So I said to my modeling agency, just, can you send me to Istanbul? Because really in that summer, I wanted to go somewhere where I didn't know anyone, where I didn't have any responsibilities, and where I could just be and explore myself in many new ways, and just, be a different version of myself. And so I went to Istanbul, and funny enough, I lived 10 minutes from this yoga studio where I ended up doing my teacher training. And every single day I went to this yoga studio, sometimes even twice. And it was also the first time that I was in Istanbul. And just when I got there, there was a yoga event somewhere far in a place in Istanbul where I've never been. So I was like, okay, let's go on a little adventure, and let's just take the metro and the bus. It took me like 1.5 hours. I didn't speak Turkish, but I think that's maybe, if you know a little bit about astrology, my moon is in Sagittarius. So I find comfort in that, doing something that I've never done and just going on a little adventure. Yeah, so basically in Istanbul, still unto this day, it's one of my favorite places and still one of my favorite yoga studios. So I met my teacher there, and I just kept practicing with him. And in that year, I was actually looking for a yoga teacher training, and I first thought to do it in a tropical place, going to India, maybe going to Bali, or just a place that seemed like the perfect yoga place. But I just couldn't really find something that I was resonating with. And the year later, I was back in Istanbul, and I was meeting my teacher, and he was just starting a new training. And basically we had lunch together, and I looked at him. I was like, why am I not doing the training with you? So yeah, 1 week later, I started doing the yoga teacher training, and it was like 10 months. So every second month I flew to Istanbul. I created beautiful friendships there, and I really fell in love with that place. So that's how I ended up doing my first teacher training. Just finished my teacher training when COVID hit. So basically we still had the in-person practice. Then February was 2020, I think, right? So then COVID hit, and obviously it was COVID times, and I feel everyone has their own individual story with that. But for me, it was actually quite a good time, because since such a young age, I was just used to always traveling and modeling. It's a job where you always see, okay, where can I go next? Where's the next opportunity? Where's a good place for me to be? So I just felt my nervous system was always on edge. And it was the first time for me to actually relax and be in one place and not having this unconscious pressure of, oh, where's the next right opportunity? And I just kept sharing my yoga practices online with friends, and few things slowly started to develop. I spent a lot of time in London, and in London was actually where I did my second teacher training. So both teachers are amazing. But I have one friend, he always said there's the Saturn teacher and there's the Jupiter teacher. And the Saturn teacher, like the planet, the Saturn is the planet of the strict teacher, putting pressure on you to grow and to learn. And that was definitely my second teacher, because he was very strict, very disciplined. It was a Shtanga Vinyasa. It was almost like the military, but it was great. And at that point, I also saw that I needed this strong and strict practice. And my first teacher, he was for sure the Jupiter teacher. So Jupiter, the planet of expansion, that you grow and learn through upliftment. And that's in a way how you grow. In both ways, I mean, in both trainings and with both teachers, I learn and I grew so much. But at a different time of your life, you might also need different practices. And this to say, as you might change, your practices will change as well. At a different point in your life, you maybe need different practices or anything that really can help you in that process that you might go through. Because if I look back at it, when I started my yoga journey, I was much harder on myself. I really pushed myself. Sometimes I practiced 3 hours a day. I went twice a day to yoga. And at that point, that was maybe what I've needed. But also looking back, it was also a time where I was much harder on myself, where I was really pushing myself, pushing my body, and not really honoring my body's needs. So as I grew older and as I connected even more deeply to myself and also became more gentle to myself, my practices changed as well. Not to say that you still need a lot of discipline. There are moments in life, not just in your practices, where you just don't want to do things, but these are truly also the moments where you can give yourself a little kick to do certain things. But one thing that I came to realize is there's a difference if you're moving from a place of fear or lack or not enoughness, or from a place of love. Because, for example, okay, I know I love myself and I know it's doing me well, even though I don't feel like doing it right now, I still choose to do it. So that's truly the intention behind it is the difference. So nowadays I still love a strong practice, but sometimes also I just need something much more gentle. So coming back to my yoga journey, I did my training then in London. That was my second training. And at that time, I was already teaching. I was also living part-time on Ibiza, where I've created different retreats, different workshops. So I could really see, okay, how can I share and what is meaningful to me to share? And my initial reason to do a yoga teacher training was first and foremost my own practice, but I could truly see the impact that yoga still has on my life. It really helped me to connect to myself on a much deeper level, to get to know myself, and also move through discomfort, but having a practice that can move you through difficult emotions and that kind of gives you this inner foundation and stability. And this is truly something that I still believe unto this day. We need to have some sort of a practice that connects us to ourselves, that grounds us inside of ourselves, and that we build a stable foundation. Because everything is in constant change and we will never be able to control it, even if we try to. But what we truly do have control over is our own inner state. I feel in so many moments of my life, I just feel so grateful that practices crossed my path that really helped me to move through things. And they're really my anchor. So I could have more this anchor inside of myself instead of outside of myself. And when I speak of practices, I don't necessarily just mean yoga or meditation. I find each person truly has to find their own ways in staying more connected to themselves. What works for me maybe doesn't work for someone else. Even though I came to see and experience the power of yoga, I don't necessarily believe that everybody has to do yoga. I truly find whatever crosses your path, whatever resonates with you, wherever you feel the most impact inside and shift inside of yourself, that is something to follow. But also what I observe, there are nowadays so many practices. You can do a breathwork, a sound healing, a yoga, a meditation, a ceremony, and all of these things, which is great that there's such an abundance of it. But sometimes it can also just be distraction, that we might do a lot of things and we just try to scratch the surface of something. And then once we get bored, once we don't like something, we just jump straight to the next one. But in that sense, we will never go deeper into something. And what I mentioned before, I don't always want to show up for my yoga practice, but I know if I do it, that it will have a benefit and that it really have a great impact overall on my day, how I am. Truly, if I look back, yoga, meditation, any sort of self-reflection truly made me a better human being. I'm more present, I'm more aware. I'm not a Zen, but definitely it really helped me to experience more of myself so I can also share more of me with the world and be more present, be more aware. And this is truly one thing what I do believe is that we need some sort of practice that helps us to balance our nervous system, to be more present, be more aware, and feel more alive. Truly, if I look back at my practices, especially Kundalini yoga, when I was at that retreat, truly something opened, but I also felt I'm coming more alive. I feel more of myself. And even unto this day, sometimes I'm in a practice and I was like, wow, I didn't knew that I could feel this richness and this aliveness. And overall, if you feel that way, then you just have a greater experience of life as well. So whatever works for you, follow that, commit to that. Yeah, go for it. Stick with it, truly, for a longer period of time, especially when you want to give up. And what I've mentioned in the beginning is that I love to write as well. The experiences that I had in my yoga practices or in my meditation, truly writing became an outlet of it. To write poetry and to create a play of words, to create a feeling of something that you can't truly describe. Why I love poetry is because through poetry you could create a certain feeling, which to express something that's sometimes hard to express in simple words. Nowadays, I truly love to infuse all. I love to infuse writing with the meditation, with the yoga practice, and that's something that I love to teach and share and hold space to. And what else did I wanted to share with you? I wanted to share about my practices that I'm doing. What I do on a daily base is truly my Kundalini yoga practice in the morning, meditation. And each morning I have a little ritual. I wake up, I have a little snack, I make my coffee, I write. I first sit down and write, and then I do my Kundalini practice. And for me, my mornings are truly holy. I love to have a super long morning routine, which is not always possible, but I like to take it slow. Having my phone off flight mode, and I can access my creativity much easier in the morning. So that's truly a space where I reflect and I just connect and align myself for this day. And this podcast also came about in my morning routines. As I mentioned in the intro episode, this podcast truly got created through doing years of IG Live conversations. And through all my travels and being exposed to different cultures, different people, I also met so many inspiring people. And truly, if I look back, there were so many amazing people and mentors coming into my life that formed my path and influenced me in many, many positive ways. So I really felt I wanted to give back and share these inspiring people that I've met along the path. 2 months ago, I felt, okay, now it's time to fully do this podcast. So I did my morning routine. Every morning I was writing about it. What is my intention? What do I want to share? What is the name? And I was very private about it. And it was a beautiful and very interesting process. Something that I realized, if something is at the seed level, it's good to nurture it first. Being a little bit protected about it, but just that you could really pour yourself into that and see, what do I want to create with that? With this podcast, it was a very interesting process of bringing it to life. And here I am, recording my first solo episode. Excuse me if my thoughts go sometimes a little bit into different places, but I guess this is how my brain works. Yeah. To be honest, that's it for now. Won't be the last solo episode. I will share more of me, more of what moves me. I truly hope you could get a sense for me. I'm very excited to see this podcast growing, to keep interviewing wonderful, amazing people. I already have wonderful people lining up, which I'm so excited to share with you. And some final words. Curiosity has always been my guide. Why did I start my yoga journey? Simply because I was curious. That's the same reason why I traveled the world, why I exposed myself to different cultures, also started modeling. Truly, that's why I also started this podcast, because I'm curious to learn more and to share. And this is just a message that I want to leave you with. If something is of interest of you, even if it doesn't make sense, follow it. I feel when we get quiet and we connect to ourselves and we listen more deeply, we know what to follow. And we might not always find the support or the understanding in our surrounding, and that's totally fine. But if something feels true in your heart, explore it. It's very natural to be uncomfortable, to feel fear. So also doubts are a natural process or part of it. Truly, following what moves you will bring you so much more joy and so much more fulfillment. And you will find the people that you can connect to, and you will find the people that will speak your language, that will understand you more deeply. I personally went quite an unusual path, quote unquote, which wasn't always easy. There was, especially also from the outside, right, a lot of criticism, and obviously there were my own personal doubts at times. I didn't really know where to go. I just knew, okay, I can't go the quote unquote safe road. This doesn't feel right for me. That's not always the easiest realization, because you really just step into the unknown and be like, okay, I just know that's not my path. Okay, so what is my path? In the end, we truly will never know where life will lead us. So many times life really leads us in miraculous ways and brings us to places where we didn't even could think of, the people that we will meet or the places that we will be. I just think the more you live in alignment with yourself, with your own truth, the rest truly will follow. If we can open ourselves to be more receptive and to just really, there's this beautiful symbolism that one teacher always said, just really living with that open palm and being like, okay, just life surprised me. Then we can also be open that life can meet us there. So yeah. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.